as it is, so I might adjust accordingly. I'll get you all set up.
We go now?
Whenever you're ready.
Hello, Pinal County. Mike Cruz here, Republican candidate for Pinal County Assessor, and I'm live with a one-on-one interview today with InMaricopa. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for coming in. We
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
it. Why don't you share a little bit of your background so people know where you came from? And
Most
what you're doing?
definitely. So, about my background, Arizona native, born and raised, grew up in Phoenix, and actually lived in Maricopa for 5 years. Came out here in 2015 with my beautiful wife, moved out here, actually lived in the Lakes development, and we recently actually just moved to Casa Grande to be closer to my in-laws and my wife's family. So very familiar with Maricopa, love the area, love Pinal County. Who I am? Well, being in Arizona, I've been having the opportunity just to explore this beautiful place. About myself, I'm a proud graduate of Phoenix Union High School District, graduate of Arizona State University, go Devils. Also have my MBA as well. Outside of my schooling, I spent 7 years of my life working in the tax and accounting field as a tax advisor, working with clients with the national tax firm, doing everything from tax research and planning to income tax preparation for individuals, high net individuals, and small businesses. Soon after, actually, when I moved out to Maricopa, one of the biggest things I enjoy doing is helping others, and I actually changed careers. I went into education. I was a career and technical educator down in the city of Casa Grande, and I believe in being able to help out. And I switched careers, and now that's where I currently am at. I am actually a public information officer with the school district in Casa Grande, and prior to that, I was a school teacher. So bring a lot of unique perspective and experience to this role, the ability to work with communities, families, and to have that business background and taxation experience has really allowed me opportunity to pursue this opportunity to be your next county assessor. So hopefully that was everything in one spot for you. Those are always fun.
Well, the question is, why are you running for Pinal County Assessor? Your opponent, the incumbent, seems to think you'd be better suited to another role like superintendent. So why the assessor?
Absolutely. So one of the big things that people tell me is, why don't you run for superintendent? And that's not the real case. The real case is, yeah, I work in education, I'm a school teacher, but that doesn't defy my potential and ability to do another role. Like I mentioned, I have an MBA and 7 years of experience in the tax field. And my commitment is to working with people, and being able to bring that education experience and that business experience is a perfect marriage for this role. And that's why I'm pursuing it, is because we need an assessor that is focused on putting the priorities of Pinal County first, and someone that could be able to reach and capture the true voice of Pinal County and the people of Maricopa is important. And I'm running because of that. I have the skill set. I'm the only candidate with that skill set. And as an Arizona native, I take this role seriously. In addition, the assessor plays a big role from economic development, education, so it all plays into one. And at the end of the day, he's just trying to say that just because he has a strong competitor who's committed to the people.
Well, this is a Republican primary, and you both lay claim to being fiscal conservatives. So within the actual duties of the assessor, how are you different from the current incumbent?
How am I different from the current incumbent? Well, when it comes down to it, my background, and especially in education, you work with minimal resources. I have mastered lean practices to be able to take a team, to organize them and put the mission and vision first, and to be able to do it at a low cost. That's my expertise. Working in business and in education, I've had the opportunity to prove myself in those arenas. I've been able to capture new opportunities in my current district and employer, where I've been able to bring in outside organizations, people to be invested to help cover different costs. Same thing here, and in terms of management and being fiscally responsible, I'm an expert at working with communities and organizations to come in, to help when needed, to be able to reach economies of scale, if you want to call it, lean practices. And at the end of the day, we're both fiscal conservatives. We're both going to manage the budget, but my management is focused on the people.
Okay. And like you said, you've been in education for several years now. how have you kept up to speed regarding evaluations and assessments regarding legislation and that kind of thing?
You know, I was one of those kids growing up in high school. I learned how to do taxes when I was 16 years old. I actually went to a tax school. And unfortunately, I couldn't even legally do them because I was 18 years old, so I couldn't actively prepare and register with the Internal Revenue Service. So what I did was work front office in a tax firm and just working with clients and doing a little bit of the tax research, and I grew upon that. So for lack of a better word, I'm a nerd. So I like to stay up to date with current events and what's trending with government. So in terms of evaluation, I try to stay involved as much as possible, learn what are the issues impacting the area, follow a lot of the supervisors' meetings, and being able to just understand what is applicable to this area. And at the end of the day, I have that educator heart. I'm always learning, and I'm always willing to learn. And I'm focused on the people. So I'm committed, and I'm compassionate, and I'm ready to serve.
So, in your education background, how does that help? How would that help you in the assessor's office?
See, when people get into something like this role, it's about people. People first. And as an educator and businessman, I'm going to lead like a CEO, but I will have the passion and heart of a teacher. I will make sure no one's left behind. I will work with everyone collectively to represent the true voice of Pinal County and the voice of the city of Maricopa. Why does that make me that skill set? We need that. Government should be for the people, by the people. And as a specialist in communications, marketing, and technology, I'll be able to create sustainable solutions that could work across the board to connect the citizens, people like you out there, with government, engage communities, and represent the voice. Because what's happening right now, a job's being done, but nothing's being broadcasted. People are out in the dark. They don't know what's going on.
Well, how would you improve the office? What would you do?
So, big thing. When I was campaigning, there's two questions I always got. Why are you running, and who is the current county assessor? That shouldn't be a question. We should know who's involved. We should know our elected officials. What makes me different? I will employ a wide array of different outreach activities, cafe-style events. Those are community and family engagement events where I would come to different communities in the area, whether it's the city of Maricopa, Santan, Saddlebrook, whatever the case may be. Focus on your issues, what's important to you, and create an action plan and work it. And I'm an outgoing, positive person. I am a people person. I enjoy working with communities that are a passion of mine. To be able to take that skill set and passion and put it to use is amazing. And that's what we need from our leaders, is someone that's going to be accessible, present, engaged. That's what we want.
At the last debate, you had talked a bit about bringing new technology in and the website and that kind of thing. What would you like to bring in that would improve how business is communicated over there, and also what kind of budget are you talking about? How would that impact the budget?
When it comes down to budget, you have to look at what is important, what is not important, and you have some in between. What can I work with? You know, being able to create a platform such as mobile app technologies and stuff like that, and to really consolidate. If you go to the Pinal County website, it's very cumbersome. It's a lot of information. How do we consolidate it? How do we bring it into a mobile app that you and I are used to working and interacting with, and that is user-friendly? Technology is cheap. It is inexpensive. It is not something where you're building a new building and there's a lot of infrastructure. Software is relatively inexpensive. The county IT department runs the websites, but it's the people, the elected officials, which deliver the content. That content is not being delivered. That content is not being accessible. So being able to work with everyone to be able to find a plan that is low cost or no cost and be able to implement it. And there's a myriad of different outreach platforms out there. We could discuss those all day, but at the end of the day, it's about meeting people where they're at. And they're not at their mailboxes like they used to. They're on their phones. They're connected online, radio, TV. So how do we bring that to you? We got to meet the people now in the middle, and that's something I could bring to this office.
Have people communicated to you what they're not getting from the office, what they would like to see that they're not
Yeah, so when I initially responded, and it's actually in your most recent InMaricopa magazine, there's big issues when it comes to land classification. And that's a big hot topic right now. And what that is, people of Maricopa, it really is the identification of how we classify land. Is it personal property? Is it agriculture? And when you classify land, it impacts the taxes that are assessed on that property. What's happening right now is we're not classifying properties the way they should be. We should be classifying properties based upon their use. And for many of our businesses and property owners in Pinal County, they've not been granted their statutory rights to be able to get that land classification. And there's many court cases that have went forward with, and the people have won. And Pinal County's had to return that money of all those illegitimately collected taxes and to pay the attorney fees. So we need to focus on that. Our county's growing. City of Maricopa's growing. We need someone that could be able to manage that growth. And as part of that growth process, we need a leader that is willing to be able to work with everyone, to have a positive culture that is focused on attracting new business. Right now, that's not happening. It's actually the opposite. New business is coming in, but it's not coming in an environment we want. You know, right now, in the current office, we have hired a revenue agency that's focused with governments. It's called Tax Management Associates. Basically what they are, they're a revenue enhancement agency. So let me put this into perspective for the everyday person. Imagine if one day the police chief here said to all the law enforcement officers, we need more money for our department to pay for this. So I want you to go out there and ticket everyone. If they go 1 mile over the speed limit or 2 miles under, ticket them. They don't use a turn signal, ticket them. If you don't like the way they look, ticket them. What kind of culture does that set? Do you think people are going to want to move here when that type of environment is happening? No, that's what's happening in the current office. We have a negative business culture that is deterring the people, small businesses, large businesses. When we should be helping business, especially right now, that's not the mindset and culture taking place. I want to change that.
And at the last debate, you did talk about your opponent, what you call squandering taxpayer money on these lawsuits that you mentioned. Why do you think he would be able to avoid being sued as assessor?
This problem was a result because one person did not want to come to the table and negotiate and talk. That was your assessor. I'm a man that's willing to work with all people, all walks of life, to create an opportunity where we could come together and get business done. We should put the people of this county, whether they're stakeholders, property owners, investors, just everyday taxpayers. It starts with being able to be accessible and to work with people. I'm going to be that person. I will be willing to have those tough conversations and the good ones. And as you're a future elected assessor, my commitment is to represent your voice and to always be accessible to serve you.
Well, no matter what county you're talking about in the state, the assessor's office is going to be heavily sued just because of the nature of what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're evaluating, you're assessing.
Yeah.
People aren't going to be happy with some of your decisions here. When it comes down to Pinal County and the number of, you're talking about this, the number of appeals, the assessor's decisions actually have had fewer appeals lately, but it's still in the hundreds. So are you prepared to carry the burden of that kind of litigation?
Absolutely. I'm here to work with the people. I'm here to be engaged, and if afforded the opportunity to be assessor, my commitment is to be able to go into the office and continue business. And if that involves litigation that's carried forward to my administration, I'll be right there working through it and exploring options. Depending on where the case sits in litigation, if that's something we could work out, let's work it out. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to reason and have a conversation. And at the end of the day, that's not always happening. And it just continues on and leads to these unfortunate events where we're getting tied up in litigation. It's something that happens, but it shouldn't happen at the rate it does.
So what is your philosophy of evaluation? Is it applying all the same rules at the same way to everybody? Or is it a case-by-case basis that might take the property owner's economic circumstances into consideration?
My commitment is to follow the law. The law is set forth by the Arizona Revised Statutes. I'm following the law. And when it comes to land classification, it's a matter of following the law. If the land is being utilized for one purpose, it should fall under that law for that purpose. And it should be assessed at that particular value and rate. And again, these cases come into play. They weren't. And my commitment is to follow the law, to be transparent, ethical, and to be willing, again, to stand there, have those tough conversations, whether they like it or not. I will be that person to ensure that we maintain good relationships with all property owners and taxpayers in this county. And that's my commitment.
How do you balance that when you're talking about hearing the voice of the people and what they want? What are you exactly referring to as far as the assessor's office?
How do you manage everything? It's just like life right now. With this COVID-19, people's lives have changed. Single parents became teachers all of a sudden. People have changed the way they live and work and do business. It's time management. It's being focused. It's having a mission and a vision and being able to get your team to work together. I have an accomplished background of bringing people together to get the job done. And that's my commitment to Pinal County and to the people of Maricopa. I will utilize my talents, my skills, and the people that surround us and be able to get the job done. It's time management, it's good leadership qualities and skills, and that's something I could deliver to the people of Pinal County.
Now, Mr. Wolf says he follows state law when he's making his decisions. But you say it's not always the case. Can you give me examples of that situation where that wasn't the case?
Just recently, and I brought it up in the debate, there was an issue, a Val Vista issue, where he followed the state. If he would have followed the state law, and that case wouldn't have happened. And he brought up the case, well, it has to go in front of the board to be approved. This is how it works. If you're at work and you went and told your boss, hey, we need to do this because of X, Y, Z, we really need to do it, guess what your boss is going to say? You know what, we probably do it. So they traditionally going to side with the leader, the elected official. Well, what happens is sometimes when you push an agenda item too much and you don't do your due diligence, then you're going to get caught in this situation where if we would have sat down, had the conversation, the law was written out. And that particular instance referring to an agricultural piece of property. And the law states that if it is with the intent to make reasonable profit with that land, it is going to be classified as agricultural status. Now, if he's not happy with that law, he needs to talk to the state legislators. They're the ones who make the law. I'm the one who has to follow it. And I'm going to follow the law as it's prescribed. And it's written out there in the statutes.
Well, won't you too, as assessor, come across cases that require a legal clarification only a judge can give? And what would be your alternative to actually taking it to court?
Well, the law is straightforward. The law tells you one thing. If the law says you can't speed, right? The law says if this property is going to be designed for X, Y, Z, we need to treat it as X, Y, Z.
But are they always black and white like that, or is it sometimes an interpretation about what grazing is and all that?
And at the end of the day, if we're going to get into that piece, in terms of what grazing is, and let's put it in perspective. Pinal County is a $2.3 billion economic output for agriculture. For those living in the city of Maricopa, you smell it every day. You go down to Auction Farms, down near Stanfield, we're surrounded by agriculture. And what happens is agriculture is a unique business because in Pinal County, we're one of the few that have grazing. And at the end of the day, we need to respect our old-time traditions. Pinal County is one of the largest economic outputs in terms of agriculture. 2.3 billion, highest producer of cotton. We are the driving force for Pinal County and the state in terms of agriculture. So we need to understand and respect traditions, follow the rules, and at the end of the day, let's talk with the people. Let's talk with the agricultural community, our farmers and our ranchers, and let's set some expectations. So when you have people playing in the same field, people know what to expect. And that's about delivering consistent messaging, working with people. If you leave people unknown and out in the mud, and they're not going to have a clear understanding of what's the expectation. And then you're going to find yourself in court every other weekend.
And can you explain what role the assessor's office plays in the economic development of Pinal County?
Absolutely. When large employers come and small businesses come, they always want to know, what's the environment like? What is it like to do business? Why are more businesses coming here as opposed to there? The assessor plays a role by setting an expectation and maintaining a culture. It's following the law. It's being fair. More importantly, it's about having a pro-business mindset. We want growth in the area. I've lived in Maricopa for a little over 5 years. My wife lived here 10. You know, when she got here, it was Bashes. You know what I mean? Now we got a Ross over here, right? We're moving on up. Times have changed, but you want someone that wants to be involved in those conversations, working with the local city government, the mayor, the council, and being able to have a pro-business mindset to work, to attract people. Again, it goes back to that. No one wants to go to an area that has a negative reputation or brand for business. You want someone that's going to up that brand and attract people. I want to be that person.
And I believe last question. How would your political affiliation inform your decision-making process as assessor?
I'm running as a Republican because I'm a proud conservative. And as a conservative, I believe in limited government, low taxes. I believe in the idea of America, freedoms, liberties. So when it comes down to my political affiliation, I believe this role needs to have a voice. Pinal County traditionally is a predominantly Republican county. There's a lot of conservative values. We have a lot of old traditions here. And my attitude is going to be as such. I want limited government. People in our county that want to live here, want to retire here, want to do business here, shouldn't have to fight the government to be able to maintain that and fulfill whatever your American dream is. You should be able to come in, enjoy, live, work, and play. I want to be hands-off in terms of being in your face. Government should be here to support the people and facilitate, and that's it. And while I'm your assessor, I'm going to make it easy to do business here. I want to be able to ensure you're informed, you're aware of what's happening, and that's important. So as I go through, my political beliefs are going to come across in my decision-making process, and just being able to take those ideals and values and put them forward. And at the end of the day, they're solid and they're good for people in this county and they're good for good business. And really, at the end of the day, it is optimal to ensure we have a great place to work, live, and play down here.
And I might. Did you want to say more about, respond more to what your opponent said at the last debate regarding your involvement with Red for Ed?
So it sounds like there's people that have questions about education. I'm surprised that, I get a lot of questions about being a teacher. What does that have to be? Teachers can't do nothing? Is that the sentiment? I think that's a wrong stigma and message we're sending to people, because you know what? Teachers are important. Law enforcement's important. You're important. We're all important. We all play a role. And as far as that Red for Ed event that took place, I work in education. It was part of my life. We were off for one day. That was the result of it. At the end of the day, do I agree with everything Red for Ed, that how it was organized and took place? No. But I agree, and I think we all agree, that we should put a focus on our most precious natural resource, our children, your grandchildren. And we need to keep that in mind. And that whole event took place. Ducey's 20 for 20 plan came as a result of that. And I will say this, since they bring it up, the current assessor sits on a charter board. Let me ask you, did he send the money back from Ducey? No. They took it. So if you're going to want to say that I'm Red for Ed, let's be clear here. Let's get away from hypocrisy. If you're going to say this was bad and you're going to accept the outcome of it, embrace it. I've embraced it. He should too.
So is there anything else you wanted to add before we say goodbye today?
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come here. Good questions. It's important you're informed. I'm running for assessor because I want to be your next leader to represent your voice. As a young leader, as a Hispanic, I bring a new, fresh perspective to this county seat. I want to be able to serve you. As a lifelong resident, I love this state, I love this county, but most of all, I love you, the people. And I want to be able to represent your voice, put your needs first, work together to ensure we're driving Pinal County forward. So this upcoming August 4th, I ask for your vote. A vote for Mike Cruz is a vote for your voice to be represented at this decision-making table. I want to serve you. To learn more about me, my values, and what I represent, I encourage you to visit my website at www.cruzforassessor.com, CRUZFOR assessor.com, or follow me on social media. You can engage with me there at Facebook at Cruz for Assessor, and on Twitter, Mike Cruz MBA. So this upcoming election, the city of Maricopa, my former home, I ask you to rise up, vote Mike Cruz, August 4th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time and opportunity.